In this video, we're going to be taking a look at how we add checkboxes that can be clicked to hide and show various objects within the view of our geometry graphics view. And then we're also going to take a look at how do we style our individual boxes so that they all have a consistent color that matches what we see in the graphics view. Where we left off in the production file is with just these basic input boxes. If we go back to the input selection menu and go to the drop-down, you'll see that there's the option to create checkboxes. If I take a look at putting a checkbox right here, the caption that I want to put here is show f of x. And the idea is that when we click this checkbox, I want to be able to see the graph that is f of x right here. In order to do that, I also need to link to it an object. Now, what's important to recognize here is that the objects that you're going to be linking to, in this case, are going to be objects that are only visible when the checkbox is selected. If the checkbox is deselected, all of these linked objects will be hidden. So when you click apply, you'll notice that the checkbox starts off initially as being shown, and that's because f of x is currently visible. But now, if I pick my move tool so that I can deselect the checkbox, you'll notice that the function f of x is hidden. Taking a look at creating a similar checkbox, we're going to go back to our checkbox tool, and we're going to say that we want to have the show actual also as an option, and then we're going to link to the show actual the coordinate point actual. And when we click apply, now we have two checkboxes. That's a common problem. Sometimes you'll forget to deselect that tool. Picking the move tool, we have the option of now hiding both the graph and the actual coordinate point. So we already have most of what we need for our students to be able to say, oh, given a graph of, say, x to the third, and considering an x value of, say, 2, what do we guess the output would be? Well, in this case, maybe it's 6. If I look at my actual, I'll see that the actual is really 8, and if I don't know what the shape of the graph looks like, I can always click on the show f of x, and I can now see the shape of the graph. What's important to notice here is that in the algebra view, you actually now have Boolean values, a and b. This is a little counterintuitive because you don't see a and b over here. If you right-click and go to the object properties, you'll be able to see that Boolean a is selected right now, and when I look at the caption, that is show f of x. So that is what I actually am going to have to keep in mind, is that the Boolean itself is a, but this is what I'm going to be using to show and display the label. Now, to make all of these the same color, I know that f of x and show f of x should have the same color as the function f. So I'm going to go ahead and select the checkbox, and what I'm going to do is go over here to the color tab and select the exact same color that we used earlier for f of x. Now when I select green, you'll notice that it shows up as green right here, but I don't like how it stands out that much. Some ideas possibly are to maybe make it a little bit bolder or use a darker color green. I like the original green, so I'm going to just leave it like that. The next thing that we need to do is come over here to f of x and also make it the exact same green that we had before. And for this one, I'm actually going to play around with the idea of seeing if making it a medium text size makes it stand out more. But I'm a little worried that if I make it medium size, that this text box will start to run into this text box. So for right now, I'm going to leave it at small and see if we might need to change that later on. Taking a look at guess, I know that guess is blue, so my input box over here should also be that same color blue. And I am taking a look at, I like that blue better. And the show actual, that should be orange, so if I select the checkbox over here, B, and come over here and pick the same orange color, I now have the start of what should be the overall interface.